So just before we got joined, I had the mantra in the background. These are, so if I can share in the chat here. So, and I will share on YouTube as well if anyone would like to. These mantras are just for the recitation, the way different people they recite differently. But this is one of those recitations, very famous. Lotus voice videos. I think it's under Radhesham Prabhuji from Pune. I think he manages Lotus voice videos. It's been a while since I've heard from them, but certainly they have done a great job in it. So, Hare Krishna. Thank you and welcome everyone. Today we are going to conclude Shri Īśopaniṣad, chapter mantra 6. So 1/3, so the 18. So we will have 6 mantras done. And this is what Upanishads mean. And here the Krishna, the thing with Sudamaji, not Sudamaji, Surdasji. And this is what Upanishads are, where the devotee and the Lord will sit together, or the teacher and the student will sit together. Upanishad. And this is what we say Upvasa, where we eat less. So we save all the time in the preparation, in eating, in cooking, and we spend more time spiritual. That's what Upvas is. So let's the Mangala Charan, and then we shall resume back. Om. Ajnanatimmirandasya ज्ञानजनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। Vandeham Shri Gurun Vishnu Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatha Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitam Shah Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dīnabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pramami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyacha Kripa Sindhuvya Eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachak Deshitarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shri Nanda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gurudev Maharaj ki jai, jai jai Shri Radhesham. Hare Krishna. So from Om Purnamada Purnamidam to Īśopaniṣad concepts to the living with harmony, with Īśopaniṣad principle, to living in disharmony, getting disadvantages if we don't live in Īśopaniṣad. We moved on to the next section from 4 to 8, that how Ishwar could be only could be understood only with a spiritual vision, and getting from 4 to 8 that it's inconceivable to understand Krishna, the Lord, Ishwar, just by our material senses. And there are many different ways, Shastras, Vedas, Upanishads, Purans, Itihasas, they try to explain about the Lord. And a lot of time what happens that at one place we will see something about Krishna. So it will say the Lord is, Lord doesn't have any form. For example, Brahman realization. A lot of Upanishads will say that the Lord doesn't have any form. But then when we reach to Brahm Samhita, then Satta Chitta Ananda, then beautiful Brahm Samhita verses which we recite every morning before Guru Puja. And there Brahmaji explains very nicely how beautiful form of the Lord is. Then if somebody will go with one, then of course the other is very conflicting. But here in Shri Īśopaniṣad, even in one verse, the conflict is where it will say that Lord is near, Lord is far, Lord is inside, Lord is outside, Lord cannot see, Lord can see, Lord cannot walk, Lord can walk, Lord can run. So that's why we need the parampara. That's why we need those dikshit, enlightening gurus, those who will able to provide the purpose, the explanations that how this apparent contradiction, it's not a contradiction, it appears to be apparent contradiction, is what the message behind this apparent contradiction is. And then we moved into the 67, where now how, if we try to understand Lord with the material senses, the very first thing is that we will be able to see Lord, the Ishwar, everywhere within the material world. And that's the beauty. That's where the Brahman realization. So Brahman realization, that I am Brahman, Paramatma realization, Paramatma is in everyone. And then Bhagwan realization, the source of everyone, source of me, source of everyone is Bhagavan. So these are three different aspects of the same Lord. And this has been much more clarified in this verse, which is mantra 6. Yes, tu sarvani bhutani atmani. And this is the word we said we looked into, and we will briefly touch base on this word again. Evanu pashyati. So this is where the spiritual vision comes in. The scriptures are considered as our mothers. So the Veda, the Puran, the Upanishads, what they do, what the mother would do to a child, will give birth, will introduce to the world, and will introduce the good and bad to the child. And this is what the scriptures they do to us. The scriptures, they will introduce the world to us, and then they will let us have that wisdom, how we can distinguish between good and bad, right? So mother will say, okay, this is the world. We slowly start teaching the children about the world. But then again, also at the same time, will give the child about the wisdom, about the good and the bad. So the child will be able to make the wise decisions. So the Shastras, they do exactly same with the humanity. And that's why the Shastras are considered as the mother. And then Srila Prabhupada said that how a child would know who is his or her father. But the mother would let. So ages ago when the wars used to happen, and for many, many, many years, so when Alexander the Great, some say, when he went out for many, many months. A lot of his soldiers didn't come back. Of course, they died. And so these kind of wars used to happen. And when after, let's say 6, 7, 8 years, the father used to come back, if survived, then the child who was just born when the father left, the child would not recognize the father. And then it would be the duty of mother. The child will trust the mother to let him or her know that this person is your father. Srila Prabhupada says, like mother introduces father to the child. Similarly, the Shastras, they let us know who is our father, who is our source, and it's Krishna. This is what the whole package of the Shastras, the Veda, Upanishads, Purans, if you read all of them, the gist, the essence comes in where Krishna say that leave everything, serve it, or leave all the religion. And then, like it says in Bhagavatam as well, that Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Rest of them are the expansions, but then at the end, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. But Krishna is Bhagavan himself, rest of the incarnation, and that includes all the avatars. Of course, we know 10 main avatars, but there are mention of 28 avatars. And if you go for the subtle avatars, then like Shakti, Avesha, Avtara, which are very, very, very minute. If you take those as well, then there are 48 of them. But 28 are big ones. They are mentioned there. So there are many kings, like Prithu Maharaj was also considered as the Amsha. Ved Vyasji considered as the Avatar planetary expansion as well. So all of them are mentioned in Bhagavatam. But right at the end, but Krishna is Bhagavan Swayam. With that, if we go and try to understand this verse says, systematically sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord. So everything in relation to Supreme Lord. And this is what we need to do. And this way, we will understand and we will be able to live Īśopaniṣad principle. And this way, we will not have any anger, we will not be jealous. It's like somebody who's the owner of everything, that person could decide to give things and could decide to take things, right? So if it's my money and somebody will take, or if I have to give it to someone, I will get very upset. Why will I have to give my money to someone else? Hare Krishna. Mataji, please.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Yes, Prabhuji, the Shakti
Avesha.
Yeah, Shakti Avesh Avatar. They're all complete in themselves, isn't it? Yeah, but they don't have the 64 qualities of Krishna.
That's right, Mataji. Yes. So Shakti Avesh, it's like the fire is there, and then the light energy comes out. The light itself is full, but that light is just part of fire. Fire also have heat energy, and fire sometimes also have the sound in it. But when the light is there, the light itself is complete, but the light is only part and parcel of that fire. Similarly, some also consider Srila Prabhupada, what he did at the age of 70, that without being a Shakti Avesha Avtara, he would not able to do. So he was there for a purpose, and he solved that purpose. He delivered that. But of course, nowhere compared to the Lord. Yeah. Yeah. Another analogy is given in the Shastras is of the drop of water compared to the ocean. So the chemical content, if anybody would like to know what the ocean is made up of, that one drop will do. Similar thing for us, one drop of our blood will let us, those who know the science, they do all the tests, and from one drop, they will know everything about us. They can know our DNA, they will know how much minerals we have, what the content of the blood in terms of hemoglobin is. They can let everything know just with one drop of ocean, one drop of blood. But compared to the whole body, compared to the whole ocean, that drop is negligible. But in itself, you're so right that is a complete. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's
I thought that analogy was given to us jivas, living entities,
yes.
but part and parcel of Krishna.
That's right. That analogy could be used in various, and Prabhupada has given many ways. But yes, it's been used there as well. When we say that, when we did the very first and second verse of Shri Īśopaniṣad, then it says that we are qualitatively same, but quantity is different. So same thing, that the one blood of the body, and if we have like 3 liters of blood in our body, then one drop compared to 3 liters, the quantity is different, but the quality is the same. So being the Jiva, we are also Satya Chitta Ananda. We have just forgotten about it because we don't remember that we are Atma, that we are the soul, spiritual soul, and we live in this material body, and we are so associated and engrossed in material body that we forget we are Satya Chitta Ananda. It's the same like another analogy we give, that a rich prince of a king, he had the accident and he forgot all about it. He was still a prince, but he just completely forgotten about it. So that's where we also give the analogy that the jiva is just a drop, but have all the qualities of Satchitananda, but compared to the quantity of Krishna, of the Lord, it's negligible. So that's what we are. Yes, very nice.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So in this, the same who sees all living entities, not only ourselves. If we see ourselves, that Brahman realization, but then we have to take the next step. Not only we see ourselves as a spiritual, we will see everyone as a spiritual being and as his parts and parcel. Who sees the Supreme Lord within everything? And this is very interesting. The translation from Sanskrit to English, Srila Prabhupada ji didn't say everybody, not only living beings, everything. And that's so true, because with our previous understanding, what we said, that soul, Atma, is there in every living being, but Paramatma is there even in the non-living. Paramatma is there in living being, but Paramatma is also there in the living being, in non-living as well. So a stone is there. A stone doesn't have any Atma, any soul in it, but Paramatma is there. That ansha, that part of the Lord is there, which makes it so existing. Without that, that stone will not exist. And that's why who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, not only living being, but even non-living being, never hates anything or any being. And I have seen myself, and luckily enough, I've also experienced it sometimes, but I've certainly seen others, that those who are elevated spiritually, they, with their consciousness, they will not get upset from any non-living things also. You might have seen, if somebody is giving a lecture, if the computer will go bad, if the mic will go bad, people start throwing things away, right? But the spiritual beings, they will respect non-living things as well. Not only living beings, but also non-living things. They respect them as well, because they understand and they could feel what it says in Shri Īśopaniṣad Matra 6, that Krishna is Sarva Bhuteshu. So Sarva Bhuteshu, like in everything, everywhere. So this is where we need to be. But then Prabhupada ji explains that, of course, that vision is the topmost vision. But before we reach there, we need to understand that there are different levels of consciousness. And based on the different level of consciousness, we can differentiate devotees in Kanishta, Madhyam, and Uttam. And then once somebody will reach to the Uttam, which is topmost, reach to the level of oneness, where everybody could see, and the illusion is straight. We can see the difference between false and real, right? The illusion will just disappear. And Kanishta Vikari, we saw it before. So we will skim through very briefly, because we have already covered it in the past. All right, okay, so what we do, all right, okay, let's go quick. So Kanishta Vikari is somebody who is very neophyte and just trying to understand what it's all about. The main thing in Kanishta Adhikari is that Kanishta Adhikari understands and get engaged in devotee, in deity worship. So will not appreciate the devotees around, but at least reach to the level of consciousness that will come to the temple and can see that deity is there and will worship deity. Maybe in the temple, maybe at home, but will not appreciate the association. There are examples from Srimad Bhagavatam explaining. Another word for Kanishta Adhikari is prakrita, which is like very natural. It's not something unnatural. And then we saw how to treat various devotees. Now, again, we said if somebody is Kanishta, it's simple. If we consider ourselves Kanishta, neophyte, we will respect everyone. And if we are topmost, Uttamadhikari, then Uttamadhikari will be in oneness, in equipoise, anyways, will respect everyone. The only trouble is when we in the middle, Madhyamadhikari, right? So if we are Madhyamadhikari, then we need to deal with the neophytes, and then we also need to deal with Uttamadhikari. Now with Uttamadhikari, it's easy because we know they are Uttamadhikari. We know they are the whole aim and objective for us is to serve Uttamadhikari, right? But with neophytes, sometimes Madhyamadhikari, they develop false ego. And because of false ego, Madhyamadhikari try to, and it happens in different places, try to take, maybe try to exploit neophyte, or maybe become a bit stubborn with neophyte, saying that you don't understand, you've been there for so long. Why don't you do this, this, this? Or you don't understand, or you are very new, or you are only neophyte. This is the downside of being Madhyamadhikari. But of course, Madhyamadhikari is such a nice place to be, because there you can listen to neophyte and you can give your own association to them. So from Kanishta, from neophyte, their consciousness can develop to Madhyamadhikari. And Madhyamadhikari could always be ready to take association from Uttamadhikari. So in between, take association from Uttamadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, and give association to neophyte. That's where the condition of Madhyamadhikari is or should be successful. And this is where we know not only deity worship, it's not that the Madhyamadhikari will relieve deity worship, but will appreciate what it says, the devotee congregation, which is like the best. Like in Krishna consciousness, ABC, A is association. So that's the Madhyamadhikari who appreciates and always try to engage in it says the transcendental loving service of the Lord. But how? By serving the Vaishnava, by serving the devotee congregation. And that's where Madhyamadhikari excels compared to neophytes. And there is a verse there which explains a bit more about it. Something very important here is that Madhyamadhikari will be merciful to the ignorant and avoids those who are envious by nature. So this is when how Madhyamadhikari will treat with neophytes. So how we should, somebody who's very new, we should be merciful, because we know they are ignorant. And they could be from any other religion as well, because we could always consider them as ignorant. But again, we don't nobody should develop any kind of false pride that, oh, he or she is ignorant, I'm not. No, this is mercifully we accept that, oh, they are ignorant, So sad. And Prabhupada, he was in tears once while he was in the car waiting. I think it was in California. He was in the car and car stopped at traffic lights, and tears started rolling down. And the devotees nearby in the car said, what happened, Prabhupada? Is something paining you? What happened? And Prabhupada was just looking outside, and a lot of people were just getting packed into the bus. And going like Monday morning, so many people, if we just see the faces, we can realize that how troublesome they are. They don't want to go, and day in, day out, that's what they want to do, that they need to do to survive. And Prabhupada said, why don't they understand? Why do they want to live a life like this? So that's the mercy of a spiritual master, not only for the disciples, even for those who are ignorant. And that's where Srila Prabhupada was, of course, being an Uttamadhikari, and avoids those who are envious by nature. All right. So another example of a sadhu we have seen. A sadhu was trying to save a sea creature. I forgot whether it was well, a sea creature, let's say, and an aquatic animal who were just trying to get back in. And then that sea creature started biting that sadhu, that sage. And then sadhu left it outside, and the sea creature was going back again. And then sadhu again got hold of him and tried to pull it up, and again he's biting. So somebody nearby said to sadhu, what are you doing? Why don't you understand that he's biting you? And the sadhu said, well, this is a baby, and he doesn't know that if he will go in the water without the parents, will get drowned. So he needs to wait for the baby. And I'm just trying to help. And if this sea creature is just doing what the sea creature is doing, which is biting, out of his nature. If the sea creature is not living his nature, then being a sadhu, how can I live my nature of compassion? So not only that, avoid who are envious, but also feel merciful towards those who are. And that's how the Vaishnavas serve the devotee congregation. Not only those who are devotees, but even those who are ignorant at the moment. And then this is, of course, the example of Uttamadhikari, the highest consciously developed devotees, where see everything and is not interested in blaspheming others. We'll never see Uttamadhikari. You'll see, I've heard from my Guru Maharaj Ji, somebody will say, oh, they said this about you, not years ago. And then Guru Maharaj Ji said, that's okay, I accept that. And then somebody at the time of Srila Prabhupada Ji, somebody wrote a letter against him, and that letter got published in the newspaper. And somebody said, oh, Prabhupada Ji, see this bad bad letter got published in the newspaper. And Prabhupada Ji had a read, and Prabhupada Ji said, this is nice. And somebody said, why? Prabhupada Ji said, look at it. How many times this mentions the name of Krishna? That this sage is there who always does Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then he always talks about Krishna, why we don't understand what he means by Krishna. So Prabhupada Ji said, doesn't really matter if this blasphemes me, but see how many times this letter, and whoever will read it, how many times that person will take the name of Krishna. And that's what the consciousness of Uttamadhikari is. And see, I mean, I find it hard to imagine that how beautiful could it be that not only our friends, but even those who might feel inimical towards us, we feel good for them as well. And Yudhishthir was a great example, that Duryodhan was always inimical, but Yudhishthir was always classed as Ajat Shatru. Not that he didn't have Shatru, but he never considered himself to be a Shatru for anyone. Right? And that's where it says that his heart is completely clean. It's not that somebody is trying to pretend from outside, but this is what unalloyed Krishna consciousness state is. And we could logically think that this will be Satchitananda, when nobody could say anything to us to make us troublesome. How beautiful could it be? How many times we say, oh, that person said this, that person did that, or that person didn't do that, and we get upset. Well, it's like we have given the remote of our happiness to somebody else. That other person could just do something or say something to disturb our happiness. But how shallow that happiness is. But of course, that's happiness, that's a material happiness. But if we are in spiritual bliss, then no one could do anything, no one could say anything. And we have so many examples of sages, rishis, kings, like the example of Durvasa Muni with Amrish Maharaj. Durvasa Muni tried to kill Amrish Maharaj, but still Amrish Maharaj saved Durvasa Muni. And even though it was not his mistake at all to start with, we have seen the example of Prahlad Maharaj. His own father tried to kill him, and when Narasimhadev appeared, Prahlad Maharaj said, "Could you please shower mercy on my father?" Imagine that, a little boy. Of course, because that's unalloyed Krishna consciousness. And we have a lot of sages now in our movement. And they are indeed at that level, that we'll never see them angry on someone. Nobody can disturb their tranquility. They are always so blissful. Just if you just picture their face in our head, we can think, wow. So this is what Krishna consciousness could be. There are many more examples. We have seen the references from Bhagavad Gita, and then from Bhagavatam as well, which we have seen in the past. We're just going a bit fast because we would like to know what Radhesham Prabhuji, how Radhesham Prabhuji have mapped the whole purport together. So difference in 3, we have seen Kanishta Adhikari, only deity worship, no devotee. So will not able to distinguish between devotee, non-devotee, will not appreciate devotee association at all, because of course that distinguish, that's lacking. That, oh, who is devotee, who is non-devotee. So if we don't know, then how we're gonna go towards devotees. Madhyam Adhikari understands very well who is the Lord, who am I, and who is the devotee. And of course, if we understand the difference, then we will be hankering. We would go out of our way to get a devotee association. And then we're able to get to the next level of Uttamadhikari, which is equipoise oneness. Brahman realization, Paramatma realization, and hopefully Bhagwan realization later. So Kanishta Adhikari will see Bhagwan in deity, and then Madhyam Adhikari will see Paramatma, will see all devotees around. So that's not only me being Brahman, everybody is Paramatma. And then Uttam Adhikari, where the very first one, Brahman realization, that I'm super soul, and then, sorry, I'm the soul who is with the super soul, and that's it. I'm peaceful, I'm Satya Chitta Ananda. And Prasannatma, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. This is the verse from Bhagavad Gita. This means always, it's unconditional, it's unalloyed, because the bliss is coming from inside. Bliss is the part of our consciousness. But then the highest level is when we can have the Bhagwan realization. Not this only deity Bhagwan realization, the Bhagwan realization itself, the source of everything, the source of that Brahman, the source of that Paramatma. That realization is the topmost Uttam Adhikari. And then we have seen this as well, the person, the matter, the Krishna. So the person who is materialistic is attached to matter, detached to Krishna. The people who are classed as Mayavadi, they consider everything as illusion. They are detached from matter, but they are also detached from Krishna. They understand that matter is material, right? So they get detached, but they don't get attached to Krishna. Then we have Sahajiya, who understand the importance of Krishna and Krishna consciousness, but still there with the material, still attached there. Right? And then we have devotees who are fully attached to Krishna consciousness and have lost all the taste in material world. Mind it, that doesn't mean that the person will leave the material world and go on top of mountain, in the cave, in jungle. No, will live in the material world, but will not be attached to it. Right? So it's the material. So we don't need to leave the material world. It's just the taste of that attachment will go. So whatever that person will do in Krishna consciousness. Will live in material world in Krishna consciousness. And if we reach to that level, that's where we said that it's oneness, that everything is, so Mayavadi say everything is illusion. Prabhupada says it's not that it's illusion, it's real, but it's very temporary. Sharbhangur. So there's a bit of difference in between. Of course, who is not at all spiritual might see both of them same or similar, but there is a bit of subtle difference. Mayavadi will say everything is illusion. It's not there at all, and which is part of some of our Upanishads as well. But Prabhupada said it's temporary, this will go away, so better not spend time on it. Spiritually, everyone, and the ocean's example is there. Spiritually, everyone is equal. So this is what we're saying, that the Uttam Adhikari will consider neophyte, Madhyam, and Uttam as the same. Everybody is same. Materially, everyone is different. Of course, when we see people being rich and poor, we see people from different nationality, we see people from different culture, different religion. That's materially. But like Srila Prabhupada, when he went to America, he just saw everyone as the spirit souls. He saw Paramatma in everyone. And not only then, later on when he moved around, he was flying all over the world, and doesn't really matter whether the person was Chinese, Russian, Korean, American, British, Indian. He just saw everyone as same, and this is that attribute of spiritual beings. So this is it says underlying Varna Ashram. Anupashyanti, we said that this is when we see according to Shastra. Remember, initially we said that verse 6 and 7 says that we need to understand Krishna, the Lord, the Ishwar, from spiritual vision. And this is why it says that Sanskrit word says that when we see things according to Shastras, right? So Shastras are our mothers, and they let us know what's real and what's false. And Shastras have only one message. So, of course, in brackets, there are paragraphs being mentioned. If we have Shri Īśopaniṣad by Srila Prabhupada, then we can see respective paragraphs. And this is how Chaitanya Charan Prabhuji has done it. And then Shastra has only one message. What is that one message? That liberated person's vision is truly beneficial. Now, it's not only that it's their vision is only beneficial for them. If we will associate with them, then they will give us their vision as well. Of course, that vision will be only temporary while we are there with them. Doesn't really happen. It happens a lot. If somebody is singing very nicely, we will sit and we will just enjoy, and we might sing along. But we do need to remember that we are singing, and it's not the melody is not in our singing, just because we are singing with them. And what we enjoying is the melody in their singing. Same thing happens when we sit with the Guru Maharaj, when we sit with God brothers of Guru Maharaj, highly elevated spiritual beings, senior Vaishnavas. Then when they sing, they do the kirtan, when they narrate the pastimes, and we just cherish that time with them. Of course, that increases our consciousness a bit more. But that's their vision, and that's going to stay with them. That can help to improve our Krishna consciousness, and that's why we hanker for that. Once we understand the importance of Krishna consciousness and how to develop Krishna consciousness with the association of devotees will always hanker for other devotees association. And because we know that they got the perfect vision, and when we are in association of such liberated people, liberated spiritual beings, then that will be beneficial for us as well. And this word from Srila Prabhupada's purpose, it says that this is what disciplic succession is. And we can see the Gauriya history. It started from Gauriya itself is the word for Gauranga from Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavatam gives a lot of details. And His Holiness Jayapataka Swamiji Guru Maharaj has written a book, and I got this here in the bookshelf, called Gauranga. Guru Maharaj is very famous for the Gauranga kirtans he used to do. And that gives a little bit of history of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna. Ajay ji, please.
What is exactly Shastra? which book really refers to Shastra? There are so many. They say Shastro mein likha hai. So exactly where it refers to?
Ji. Very nice question. Very nice. And this is a fundamental understanding we need to have. And you're so right that so many times is so confusing that a lot of people, and not only that, I will add an angle to it of, because what we, so the answer is the Vedas. Vedas are the Shastras. Everything else are just the expansion of Vedas. Vedas are a bit hard to understand, and we say 4 Vedas, but initially there was only one Veda, Rig Veda. So in Vedic culture, we didn't have anything else, only Rig Veda was there. Later on, Rig Veda was, so the main, so Ved Vyaji was there. Ved Vyaji had many disciples, but he chose 4 disciples, and he split Rig Veda into 4 parts, and he said, that's how we're going to keep it. Like, that's how we're going to keep it live. So you take this part, and then you pass this on to your disciple, and you live it like this. So Vedas are the scriptures. But then, of course, from Vedas, we go Upanishads. From Upanishads, we go the Puranas. From Puranas, we have the Itihasas as well. So in one way, we can say all of these are Shastras. Now, the only thing is where the conflict happens. Conflict is, as I was saying initially, that somebody will say, well, but if you read Shiv Puran, it says that. But if you read Bhagavatam Puran, it says that. So how will we understand it? Now, that's where the commentary of the acharyas, that's where the disciplic succession comes in. That's where the teachers come into picture. That's where we have not only Diksha Guru, but we also have Siksha Guru. So like what we are doing now, this is called kind of Bhakti Vriksha. And even at home, we do Bhakti Vriksha, where all the like-minded people will come, we will read, and we will discuss. And then from the discussion, and a lot of times devotees ask very genuine questions that, well, I need to do this in my life. Shall I do this or shall I do that? And then we say, okay, let's figure out what the Shastra says. Then different people will be giving different references. And then we will say, okay, but that Shastra says this, but this one says that. But then somebody else will say, well, that has a different context to it. Then we understand, oh, yes, that's right. Then somebody will say, something similar has happened to that devotee in the Shastra, in the Puranas, for example, and that devotee did this. So maybe inspired by them, we need to do that, but not just our own understanding. We always make sure that we open our heart to the devotee congregation. Maybe not that we will go to 100 people, but maybe we have 4 to 5 people around us. It could be 3, it could be 6, but close devotee congregation where we will just open our heart, and then it will be very clear that what decision we should do and what the Shastras say. So in short, the Shastras are the 4, because we are Hindus, followers of universal religion, Sanatan Dharma. So Vedas, they are the authority, right? But again, it's hard to understand Vedas. That's why Upanishads and following all other Shastras, all other relative literatures are. Now remember, they all are called a Purusha. Purusha is from man. Purusha is actually, if we say, we think Purusha is for man, but Purush was for human. So Apurusha is, is in Sanskrit is negative. So Purusha is by human, Apurusha is not by humans. So it's written by Ved Vyasji, who was the Shakti Avesha Avtara. So it came, all the Vedas, all the literature came directly from the Lord. This is how we can say, because Brahmaji asked him to write it. And Vedas existed even before that. Not that they were not there before that, but only got into written form when Ved Vyasji made it happen. So that's what we can understand. Shastras are the scriptures, what we have. And they're very well classified: Vedas, Upanishads, Purans, Itihasas. These will do. There are few more, like Nyaya is there. So there are 6 schools of Vedic thoughts, and but they are very hard to follow. And when I say very hard to follow, there are very small, very small groups who who are keeping them alive. But if you go for the majority, then it's Upanishads and Puranas, and of course Itihasa. So somebody will read Ramayana and will try to learn the lessons of life from Ramayana. And for them, Ramayana is the scripture. Now, of course, confusion could be then there are Valmiki Ramayana, there are Tulsi Das Ramayana, and that's again where we need to go back to the authority. We need to go back who might be reading Ramayana for a long time. So that's how I understand.
Dhanyavad Prabhuji.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hope that. But you're right, it could be. Another twist I said I will add to this question is that what if somebody else from other religion will say? Now imagine that. So somebody will say, well, you're right, we should follow Shastra, but for me, the holy book is different. So that's my Shastra. And then there's a different kind of conversation we need to have. Like somebody said, a book distributor went to somebody from a different religion, and the person said, well, what Gita says about women? And the person says, well, Gita doesn't say anything about women. Gita says about humans. Does your scripture tell you anything about you? And the person started thinking. And this person was a book distributor. So the person said, how about this? I will take a copy of your holy book. And if I like to know about women, I will read your book. But if you want to read about yourself, who you are, and how you should live your life, then I give you a book of Gita. And the guy said, okay, that makes sense. And that's how the book distributor gave it. So if this will happen, that somebody say, for us, the scripture is our holy book, then because I have many friends from different religions, and I do these kind of very harmonious conversation, discussions, not arguments. And the only thing I say is that let's discuss what it says. For example, if you take the example of peace, if you take the example of anger, then Bhagavad Gita explains that how we could be peaceful. It explains that how we can get rid of our anger, jealousy, enviness. Then I say, what does it say in your scripture? Let's follow that wisdom. And then we discuss this. So far, I haven't found anything which is as elaborated and very clear as Bhagavad Gita. So again, not to be the analogy is with the container and the content in it. So it's not the holy book where we need to get attached, it's the wisdom inside which we need to get attached. So like somebody will just burn. This is an example coming from a real example, because there was a time when in Paris, I think, somebody flushed a holy book of different religion into the toilet. And then this Buddhist monk was in Australia, and a journalist came to him and said, well, what will you do if your holy book will be flushed like this? And the monk said, well, the very first thing I will call plumber, because my pipe will get stuck. He said, I'm not going to get angry with someone who is just doing the book. But yes, I might get upset if somebody will not follow the content, the principles written in the book. It's not the book itself, it's the content inside, which we can compare. So, and which we should. I'm quite open for it. That doesn't really matter which holy book it's written. If the message is for mankind, and if the message is to bring us into Krishna consciousness, which is the Īśopaniṣad principle, then of course we should have those kind of inter-religion, interfaith discussions, which we do. now and then. So disciplic succession is certainly what we aim for. And that's where Srila Prabhupada comes into picture. Anu is to follow, and Pashyati means to observe. So this is the way we follow and we observe, right? It's not a blind, it's not just we close our eyes and we blindly follow. We follow and we observe, we try to understand this. Now, we have only very few minutes left, but let's see what Chaitanya Charan Prabhuji said. So we have seen this before very briefly, but we have already covered that there are three different spiritual visions. So Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttama. And also he explains that if we develop that vision, there are also danger, as we said, that Madhyam Adhikari might consider Kanishta as the junior and might not treat well. But of course, what the Bhagavatam verse says, that will always be merciful, right? But of course, that danger is there. What to accept, so what to avoid and what to accept. This wisdom we will get. Then for the Kanishta is the lowest state. We said it out of 3, and then goes to the temple, but nowhere else, because deity worship is the main thing. Cannot ascertain other position like other devotees. Follows routine, nothing else, right? This is where we are supposed to go to the temple, do this, that's it. Quarrels with other devotees because the importance of association is not there. And of course, very materialistic because the only deities are there, the association of devotees completely missing. So when we go to the second Madhyam level, this is the second stage, of course, distinguishes 4 categories. And we have seen this. It's in Bhagavad Gita also, this has been mentioned in different ways. The Supreme Lord is there, and so sees whom. It's like Madhyam Adhikari will see the atheist and avoid atheist, will see the innocent people. Those who are innocent, they are not try to abuse anyone, but they are just innocent. They don't know. They genuinely don't know. They have maybe they didn't get the chance to hear about Krishna. Tries to awaken the dormant love. So if the Madhyam Adhikari will meet innocent devotees, innocent people, will try to awaken. This is what book distributors do. When they go out, they look for those innocent people, not atheists, because they would like to try to avoid atheists. But when they meet other devotees, they make friends. This is what happened when I went to Delhi. I was going there, I think it was a Radha Ashtami, and we were going to Barsana, and somebody stopped the car and said, "Oh, we got a function." But when saw the kanti and the tilak, oh, then we just made friends. We exchanged the numbers. But when the Supreme Lord then loves and adores Supreme Lord. So this is very briefly what we have already discussed. This is the beauty of different devotees. Chaitanya, this is coming from Radheshyam Prabhuji, who has put kind of a flow chart to understand it. And Uttamadhikari sees everything in relation to Supreme Lord. We have seen equipose, does not discriminate any atheist, theist, Brahman, dog. Again, the verse from Bhagavad Gita. We'll see everyone with the equipose, with the same vision in terms of using, misusing, independent, nothing whatsoever. There won't be any categorization in the eyes of Uttamadhikari. They will not going to misuse anyone ever, because sees that a spiritual spark. A spiritual spark means sees that dormant love, that that person could be. So this is how we can understand these 3. Hope these charts have put more information to it. There is a bit more discussion, if you like, we could. I will see whether we would like to, or we can cover, because remember verse 6 and 7, they go together hand in hand. So we'll see. Hare Krishna. Yes, please, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji. So Madhyam Adhikaris, he treats the Supreme Lord as one, devotees as one, innocent as one group, and atheist as another. While Uttamadhikari doesn't discriminate. He doesn't see, and he just is like a Supreme Lord. He sees the atheist at the same level.
So the Madhyam Adhikari is still Madhyam. So when Madhyam Adhikari will have somebody atheist coming, Madhyam Adhikari will not try to exchange any ideas with atheist, because Madhyamadhikari might not be strong enough to transform that atheist into theist. But so Madhyamadhikari will always consider that as a risk, that, oh, the person is atheist, so let's avoid him. Let's better look for those innocent people whom we can tell a bit more about Krishna. But atheists, we don't want to get into arguments, because there is a risk that I might fall down, I might get into arguments, or maybe the atheist will consider winning situation. So I will not go into all that. But Uttamadhikari has no risk at all. So Uttamadhikari will always be ready to discuss even with atheists. But Madhyamadhikari will have a very clear vision that I don't want to get into the discussions with the atheists. Of course, there are many examples where a lot of devotees will go and have conversation with the atheist as well. But again, from the definitions, Madhyamadhikari will not get it. So if anybody, for example, I'm not saying I'm Madhyam, but if anybody will argue with me, I might have a bit of conversation. But where I will reach to the level where I will see, oh, this person is really, really crude. Maybe because based on his or her past experience. That's also. I say, okay, maybe this is not the best time. Maybe leave him or her for a while, and maybe 6 months later, go touch base again and see whether the person would like to hear about Krishna now. But at that moment, it's good to leave it. But Uttamadhikari is so powerful that just in his presence, even atheists will able to listen to the wisdom of Krishna. So this is where the difference between atheist and theist and Madhyamadhikari and how they interact with. So certainly Madhyamadhikari will at one point will definitely decide that I don't want to have conversation again with atheist. Just like that.
That could be due to the higher level of consciousness or spiritual knowledge
That's
that
right.
Uttamadhikari has.
Yes, that's right, Mataji. Yes, it's not that Madhyamadhikari should not, but when the book distributors are there, so of course the Guru Maharaj is there, and book distributors, they go out initially when they don't have so much experience, they come back and they report. And then I was there once, and somebody said, "Oh, December is coming. In December we have the book marathon in London." And then a lot of devotees, they share a lot of their experiences, and some of them say, "Well, this person I spent so much time." The other person said, "Well, you should have just avoided him, because while you spend so much time on this person, and you know the person is arguing, being the atheist, you should have just avoided, and maybe during that time you would have spoken to 4 other devotees, and maybe they were innocent, and you might have awakened their love for Krishna." So yes, always the advice is to avoid, not to get argumental with the atheist, and again, not to have anything bad for them, just to feel innocent for them. They have a compassion for them, that they are in that situation at the moment. They don't want to talk about it, but yeah, this might not be the best time. Maybe we will try again. And it happens a lot. It says if we find somebody who doesn't want to talk, we just give them the leaflet, come to the temple for the darshan, for prasad. If we have prasad, we give the prasad to even atheist. That maybe we could not change, but this prasad which we have offered to Krishna, this prasad might change your consciousness. But always invite to the nearby temple. Come to the temple, the function's happening, and you might see. And a lot of time it happens. I have met people, because at temple, when I go, one of my services is to show people around. And I always ask people, so how did you hear about the temple? And they say, well, I met a book distributor who just invited me to the temple, and that's where I am. Then I said, do you like it so far? They said, oh, I loved it. And I'm surprised. So somebody said to me, I'm surprised that such a nice place. I've been living in London for that long. Why I didn't come before? And that's the power of association. That one Madhyamadhikari on the road might not able to transform the atheist. But when that atheist will come there in the temple, all the devotees around, the prasadam there, the deities are beautiful there, and the bhajan, the kirtan happening, then even the atheist, without any efforts from anyone, because all these things are happening anyways. So even that atheist could feel the love for Krishna. And
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji, for that question. So number 6 and 7. So we will start number 7 next week, and we will get further how we can develop spiritual vision by seeing worldly things, events, and people with that equal vision. And that equal vision is what Uttamadhikari has. So my apologies, got a bit extra today, but thank you so very much for your association. And I would like to say thank you to Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Jai Jai Shri Radhe Shyam. Hare Krishna. everyone.
Hare Krishna. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.